People lose like that flirtiness, that playfulness, or that erotic energy.
Not only is she saying that she's open to it, she also knows that he would be open to working on it as well.
And it's the opposite. Intimacy makes them feel good.
Been together for 12 years, but only married for 4 months, and
better to talk about it sooner rather than later and not to let it.
What else is happening, that's maybe causing that disconnect, right?
Welcome to Session and Secrets. I'm Luisa, and today we're doing a Q&A session, and I'm here with my friend and therapist, Martha Gonzalez.
Hello.
Welcome, Martha.
Thank you for having me.
And just as a reminder, this is not therapy. This is just things to maybe think about and maybe things to consider, Martha.
Okay.
Let's start.
Question number 1. My husband and I have a very good relationship. For the last couple of years, my libido has been very low and almost non-existent. I need help.
Yes, and sometimes, Martha, sometimes we think that people have issues with intimacy or with the physical connection because because maybe there's issues outside of the relationship, right? Like the emotional connection. Or maybe something's off. But this is very common. Sometimes people are really good friends and have a good relationship, a good supportive relationship, but just maybe the erotic dynamic is missing, like the erotic energy. And it tends to happen after years of being in a relationship, in long-term relationships. And in this case, I think I would want to know, how long have they been together? What happened a couple of years ago when there was this change? Sometimes it's like physical issues, right? Or sometimes it's like a stage. And so I want to know what changed in their lives, or maybe what's getting in the way, right? Like routine or yeah, because it said in the last couple of years. So I want to know what changed in life during those 2 years. What has been changing and what has been getting in the way.
So it is common for people to lose that part of the relationship at one point?
Yeah, even if they're a good relationship, because sometimes they become more like friends. And it's a different dynamic, right? And people lose like that flirtiness, that playfulness, or that erotic energy. Maybe because, you're raising teens and teens are acting out, or you're raising little kids and kids, or your job became super stressful and now you're not really, your life, work balance is off. So we would have to look at like the full spectrum of the relationship and what's going outside of the relationship too. For the person, because this person is identifying my drive is very low. So what's going on in your life that is getting maybe in the way of connecting with yourself or connecting with your pleasure, or just feeling free and like in the mood to be playful.
Got it. Next question. I have trouble being intimate with my partner, not when it comes to him, but when it comes to me. I am uncomfortable with the idea of focusing on myself during intimacy, but especially the idea of climaxing. My partner is incredibly supportive and has tried to help me become more comfortable. And though it has helped, I believe I'm at a point where I need to seek a therapist. He is also more than willing to participate in couples therapy. Personally, I would like this, but I would want to start with a therapist privately and eventually bring my partner in if it's recommended. Thank you.
Yes. So this person mentions that feeling uncomfortable with the idea of focusing on myself, right, during intimacy, and that can be that can happen, right? And it's usually if you're not used to like the spotlight being on you, or receiving attention, or receiving praises, and you're more of a giver, right? Like you give, I think I was talking to you about it before we started, right? If you're a giver, if you care for others, if you give more than what you receive, then you may be uncomfortable with receiving, right? And part of intimacy is also that dynamic of giving pleasure and receiving pleasure. And so if you're uncomfortable outside of I said I would ask you, how do you feel with like praises?
Mm-hmm.
Or I would ask, how do you feel when the attention's on you outside of intimacy to start with? And then if we see maybe there's a theme, like someone says, oh, you look nice. And you're like, oh, no, it's nothing. Or you look
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, or your hair looks nice. And you're like, oh, it's whatever. Right.
Oh, your blouse is pretty. Oh, this old thing.
Yeah, exactly. So then I'm having difficulties, right?
Yes.
Receiving attention, receiving praises. And sometimes we have to work on, maybe outside would be easier to work with just working on receiving that attention,
Mm-hmm.
on receiving compliments, on maybe setting a boundary with ourselves and work on maybe not giving so much and keeping, something for ourselves. Because, the day only has 24 hours, right? There's only 7 days a week. And sometimes our schedule is full of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so full that by the end of the night, we're exhausted. And so if it's like your phone. If your phone has no energy, what's your phone gonna do?
The
Die,
battery
right?
dies.
Dies. And
Yes.
and often, especially for us women, we want to feel good to get to intimacy, whereas for men it's the opposite. Intimacy makes them feel good. And so sometimes at the end of, maybe you're overextending yourself and you're not leaving energy for playfulness, you're not leaving energy for um, being creative, right? You're not leaving energy for connecting with yourself, right? You're not leaving energy to connect with your senses, to what you see, what you smell, what you touch, and a lot of that is sometimes, just leaving, having some energy to do that. And then the other thing, it would be, let me see, and so this person is saying, my partner is incredibly supportive, and has tried to help me become more comfortable. And though it has helped, I believe I'm at the point where so she wants. What I like is that she wants to do something about it.
Yeah.
I
So there's
guess.
lots of positive in this email because
Mhm.
not only is she saying that she's open to it, she also knows that he would be open to working on it as well.
Yeah.
So that's all positive.
Yeah, and I always say, intimacy with someone else is like, it's like a team sport, right? You two need, we have to be able to have communication, verbal communication, and non-verbal communication, and be able to, be receptive, and also, be like aware of what's going on, to be present in the moment, right? Like we're watching the World Cup and you see the
Yes.
players, right? They look at each other and they know, the ball's coming, I'm gonna kick it to you, and or they anticipate, they kind of go. It's the same with relationships and intimacy. There's a lot of things going on, and sometimes I think we have our own personal relationship with intimacy, and if we want to work on that, right? If we want to improve that, then it's often a journey that we have to explore on our own, to see what has gotten, what has been getting in the way. Is it something from childhood, right? Is it something that comes from the messages we received about sexuality or about intimacy? It could be like, now I'm a mom, right? I shouldn't be acting that
Yeah.
way, or I should act differently. And sometimes it's all those beliefs
Yes.
that are associated with intimacy that carry into, our relationship.
Definitely. Next question. My husband and I have been together for 12 years, married for 4 months. We've been together since we were teenagers and have always struggled with sexual intimacy. But as of recently, things have gotten worse. We have been disconnected for months and are lost on how to resolve it and how to get to a better place. We are newlyweds and it's really affecting our lives. So, wow, they've been together for 12 years, but only married for 4 months. And I want to say that this is probably more common than not, right? To start having problems shortly after getting married, even if the relationship is a pretty long one,
Yeah,
you know?
this person is saying that they've been together since teenagers and
Mm-hmm.
always struggled with sexual intimacy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so sometimes we think, we were talking about it too, right? Sometimes we
Yes.
think that, oh, after we get married, things are going to change, or we have the expectation or the hope that things are going to change. And the reality is that things don't change just because we get married. And so what you didn't fix before getting married is not going to fix because you got married. Um, and and then if they were together since teenagers, sometimes it's like anything else, right? Our relationship with intimacies also grows and it's fostered, right, throughout
And
our
it
and it
changes.
changes throughout with our experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you got together, and not for every couple, but sometimes the couple kind of gets stuck in the intimacy area
Mm-hmm.
because let's say they got together in during middle school, and so the dynamic of how they initiate or how they initiate intimacy tends to be young, like playful, like when you were a teenager, right? Like when you
Mm-hmm.
were in middle school. And maybe one person stays that way and the other person wants more of just a romantic, more seductive, more what we see in in on TV or what we see in the movies,
Mm-hmm.
and that can impact the dynamic of the relationship because maybe now that spank or like that, whatever. Pinching your side or touch grabbing you in a certain way that can become annoying for one person,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they want a different kind of initiation. And so it's important to create communication around it. And sometimes communication becomes very negative around intimacy because it's every time that there's a struggle or because when things are not going okay, then we talk about things, right? And so now we associate maybe shame or maybe guilt or
Mm-hmm.
embarrassment to something that is supposed to be carefree, it's supposed to be free, it's supposed to be, happy, and so we're associating uncomfortable emotions to something that is supposed to be fun. And it's important to, if you're not able to have that kind of communication and you feel disconnected, to start working on communicating that.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about it outside of intimacy, not when you're going to have intimacy, not during intimacy, but it just like any type of communication, right? It should start with what is going well, right? The things that have worked out, the things that make you maybe feel
Mm-hmm.
connected. And then we talk about our needs or our wants or our desires. And then, and with something positive, what are we willing to work on? And also creating goals, it would be important. Like creating goals like, okay, well, we're going to make time to spend time together on the couch and cuddle, or
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna make time to go experience a new activity, right? We're gonna make time to sometimes couples are so busy they're like passing ships, right? Instead of making time to spend time together and be a
Mm-hmm.
couple or talk about um their hopes, their dreams as a couple, not as parents, not if you paid bills, not if you called the plumber, or like deeper conversations. And so it depends on what's going on. But
Mm-hmm.
if you think that there's a disconnect, or if you feel like there's a disconnect, it's better to talk about it sooner rather than later, and not to let it you know
Linger.
linger, because that's how pebbles become boulders.
Yes. And also, I feel that what you touched on is very important, that we talk about it outside of,
Yeah.
let's not talk about this in the bedroom. Let's, make time to talk about the things that are happening, what's working, what's not, what can we improve on, what are we willing to work on. I think that's really important. Because, like you said, usually we want to talk about things when they're happening.
Right.
And that
Yes.
doesn't work out very well.
Yes.
So,
So, yeah, make time to talk about it outside of the relationship. And then
mm-hmm,
if you see something that needs to be changed or something that would be more helpful or it would be more seductive, then coach people. And of course, there is a way of giving people feedback, and there's a way of sounding like a criticism,
mm-hmm.
right? And so you have to figure out what works for you and your partner.
Next question. We would like to focus primarily on the intimacy challenges and inhibition and prohibition of sexual relations. My wife tells me of no past trauma or sexual abuse, yet I still find it hard to understand or comprehend the depth of her aversion to intimacy and sexual activity.
Yeah. What do you think about this email?
Well, there's so many, I have so many questions, and I think I wish she would have sent the email, because just because there's no intimacy or sexual activity, that doesn't mean that there was trauma.
Uh-huh.
There, we don't know what's happening, because I don't know, there's two sides to each story. Maybe he sees it as one way, she sees it as another. So I think that there's a lot of unanswered, like I have a lot of questions,
You're right.
so I don't know, what's your take on it?
Well, yes. I think when we were talking, I think you said, what if she's not liking the way he's initiating
Or
right?
approaching.
Or approaching
Mm-hmm.
this activity,
Yes.
and that could be the case, right? That could be the case. Sometimes it changes, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it becomes like the same, like a routine, and people don't want that, don't want that way
Mm-hmm.
anymore, right?
And then there's probably lack of communication.
Mm-hmm.
So then they're not communicating their needs or wants.
Yes.
Or, could there be trauma? Yes. But does it mean that there is trauma?
Yeah. So I think it would make a difference if the aversion
Mm-hmm.
was like at the beginning of the relationship. So it's
Mm-hmm.
always been this way, or if it has changed,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then we would have to look at other patterns, like for instance, maybe it's happened in other relationships, right? Maybe the first 6 months it's all good, and then after 6 months something changes for the person, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so we'll have to see if there's patterns in different relationships, or if it's something that it has never, it's always been there, always,
Mm-hmm.
meaning since the beginning of starting any type of intimacy, that there's an aversion. I don't know what he means by aversion, or what.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's people perceive it as aversion, but sometimes it's not an aversion. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
And there could also, like, what about if there's a medical condition going on, or
Yeah. So,
just
so
so
I would want to know
many,
if if it's like a phase, like a stage of
Mm-hmm.
life, right? Maybe a
Mm-hmm.
change in your body,
Mm-hmm.
or stress, right? Or anxiety or
Yes.
depression, that it could be impacting the intimacy, or so has it always been there since the beginning of the relationship? Has it happened in other relationships, or also if there maybe, sometimes what's missing is what leads to intimacy, what
Mm-hmm.
leads to sex. And if that's missing, then sometimes, it's, you're not, some people need more to get there. Some people need less. And if your partner needs more and that's missing, then maybe that's why they don't want to engage, because the things that lead to it are missing. And so we would have to figure it out, right? Like, it
Yes.
would be like being curious about what has changed, being curious about what, if it was working before, like what would get you there as a person, and what did the partner do to help you get there? And if that's still happening, then maybe is there a change in how you feel now, how you feel about your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's changes in our bodies, and that could impact also our how open we're willing, how vulnerable we're willing to be with our partner.
So hopefully they get some professional help, because they could really benefit from that.
Yes.
Next question. My husband and I are in desperate need of help. We have been married for 28 years and can't seem to overcome my affair. One of the reasons of the affair was lack of intimacy. So we need help overcoming the affair and learning how to be intimate.
Yeah. What do you think about this, Emma?
Well, that's sad. 28 years, and
Yes.
there's a lot of history there, and
Mhm.
when this person talks about lack of intimacy, it's like, okay, has it always been this way? Did something change? It seems like there's a lot of things going on at once, but I kind of
Mhm.
wonder if, when did they start? Was it like that since the beginning? And then also the lack of communication, because if they're not talking to each other, then the person is trying to fulfill, what they should be able to find in their relationship. They're seeking it outside.
Yes. And I mean, not to excuse, we don't excuse affairs,
Of course not.
but yeah, sometimes, people are unhappy in their relationships and they go outside. And it would be, and sometimes people say, like, I do talk about it. I do talk about my needs. My partner doesn't do anything. And I mean, we would have to have honest conversations of what's going on, right? If it's like if I had a ball and I wanted to play, volleyball with you, and I throw it to you and you let it drop, and then I keep doing it. What are you telling me?
That I'm not interested.
You're playing with me, right?
Yeah,
And
that's the
so,
message that I would
yes,
receive,
so we would have to have conversations and figure out. Sometimes they do want to play, but something else is getting in the way, right? It could be
Mhm.
shame. It could be I'm going to assume this is a heterosexual couple, but it could be shame. It could be something with performance anxiety, right? Something where things don't go the way I want them to
Mhm.
go, and then partner gets mad, and I don't want to disappoint. I don't want to feel like I'm not fulfilling my partner's needs,
Mhm.
and it starts becoming a very stressful event. And so it would be the same. I would ask, like, how long has it been since intimacy started declining?
Mhm.
What changed in the relationship? And then obviously after the affair, maybe sometimes it's like your body is not feeling vulnerable, right? Maybe they're still hurt, maybe they're
Mhm.
still feeling betrayed, maybe there's resentment, and the body kind of like shuts down.
Mhm.
And obviously every couple, responds differently. Sometimes after an affair, things get very, very, very hot and heavy. But it's more like survival, right? The couple is like in survival mode and they're trying to attach to each other. And then with time, it goes back to what it was before. Or it goes to like no intimacy. And it often underneath all of that, there's often unresolved emotions, right? Like
Mhm.
maybe, yeah, people feeling betrayed and hurt, and they don't want to give themselves because they don't want to be hurt again, right? It's like I'm gonna keep this part
Yeah.
of myself to protect myself.
And also with when they mention affair in this email, they don't state like how long was it for? Was it a long term? Was it a
Yes.
short term?
Hmm.
Was it a
Who
one
was
time thing? Was it a habitual? Like, is it,
mhm. Who was the affair partner,
you
right?
know, was it also maybe like, let's say it was a close friend or
Hmm.
a family member,
Yeah,
like,
which it happens.
yeah, you're not only feeling the betrayal of the affair, but you're also feeling the betrayal of that other person. They
Hmm.
were also a part of your life. So many unanswered questions here.
Yes.
But hopefully they are able to work through this, because 28 years is a long time. They've invested,
Yes.
you know,
And I always say,
a long
I
time.
mean, I would assume if you have been together for so many years, then there's some strengths in the relationship, right? So something has kept you together. And we would have to use that as a foundation, and then help with communicating, help with healing
Hmm.
the relationship from the affair, and then build or foster the intimacy that maybe they didn't have,
Mm-hmm.
or that they didn't, yeah, that they weren't able to foster on their own, and create a new one, right?
Next question. We have been married for 25 years and together for more than 30. We have adult children. We have been having a lot of problems in the last couple of years. But I thought that things were going to get better and that we would start working on our relationship, only to find out that she has been having an affair. A couple of months ago, I went through her cell phone and found out that she has been cheating on me with her junior high sweetheart. I've been a mess. First instinct was to just get a divorce, but that's not what I want. I want to work things out with my wife. We have been together since we were 18 years old. I cannot imagine life without her. I also admitted to her that I cheated on her with different women when we were in our 20s. Now we are both broken and need help. This is a lot.
Yes. And I mean, when you're in a long-term relationship, there's a lot, right, going on throughout those years.
Yes.
Yeah. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I feel that there's definitely strengths in this marriage. If, they have been married for 25 years, they have been together for 30, they have raised their children are adults. And it talks about, having problems in the last couple of years. So I would wonder if the problem started like when they became like empty nesters, or if there was problems going on prior to that. But it says couple of years, so I would assume, it was after maybe the kids left home or went off to college. But
Or
the
they've been brewing for. Sometimes people
yes,
suppress, right, their feelings and
yes,
emotions, and then something starts like,
yeah,
you start realizing. I mean, I'm assuming they're in midlife, right? Like
yes.
maybe
And then
50s.
and then also here though, he finds out that, she's cheating, and he was going through her phone. So one would wonder, okay, why was he going through her phone also? So there was already probably
Something
some
was.
suspicions
Mhm.
there. But then he mentions how then since he saw, he found out that she was cheating, then he felt compelled to to share that he cheated, you know?
In
So,
their 20s, when they were in their
yes.
20s,
So,
and she had no idea, right?
so there's hurt on both ends, and
Mhm.
but
Yeah, because even though sometimes, and couples, or people,
mhm,
um they get it, they make a mistake of, that happened 20 years ago, that's not happening anymore. Well, yeah, but for the person, it's like that's new information, right? That idea that they had of their
yes.
20s, or for the past 5 years, or the, no, 10 years ago, it's erased now,
Mhm.
right? That idea
Mhm.
of like, oh, this was happening while I was pregnant, this was happening while we were going on vacation, and you were saying I love
Mhm.
you, and you were
Mhm.
looking at me and saying how much you loved me. Or no, it could be like, oh, that was when we were having problems, right?
Mhm.
And then you sought someone else. But yeah, it's it's new information for her too, and for him, obviously, it's the now, and and I'm sure maybe yeah, like you said, he had a sense of what was happening. Something was happening, right? That made him want to check
The phone.
the phone,
Mhm.
and then he found something. So it would be important, obviously, to get professional help, right? Because if the problems have been going on for 2 years, and you haven't been able to change that dynamic on your own,
Mhm.
it would be very important to get someone else to help you have learn to have difficult conversations, or learn to create the safety to be able to talk about, your challenges, her challenges, and identify, what goals do you want, what do you want this relationship to look like, um and I mean, what I would say is that, I I read the story, and I do see or hear or feel commitment, right? They have commitment. And so hopefully it's easier if they both have the same goals, right? If we both want to have the relationship. It's harder when only one person has that goal. I'm not saying it cannot change, if the other person is
Mhm.
uncertain, but it's a lot easier if, like, if we both know that we want to go to the same restaurant
Yes.
versus if I want to go here and you want to go somewhere else.
Yes. And another thing that comes to mind as I'm reading this is they're talking about, the affairs and how long they've been
Hmm.
married, but the kids are adults, but it's like, are they
Hmm.
also being impacted by this
Yeah.
situation?
Hmm.
How is the relationship with the
As a
parents
family.
now, now that
Hmm.
they have this information? Like, how are those relationships with the kids also?
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of, I think a
Or
lot of hurt and
yeah,
grief for
or the
everyone.
extended family too,
Yes.
right? Like sometimes
Yes.
people, the extended family finds out, and now the whole perception of the relationship has changed. I mean, they're some couples are don't disclose whatever's going on with, with their children or with extended family.
Mhm.
Some I mean, you never know how you're going to react, right, after
Yes.
finding out something so painful.
Yes.
It's so there's no judgment. People are not thinking clearly.
Mhm.
There's a lot of emotions, right? And so we don't know. I mean, he found out. I don't know. We don't know if the kids know, adult
Mhm.
children know, but
Mhm.
it's just then you have to also take that into consideration,
Yes.
right?
So there's a lot going on here in the,
Hmm.
relationship dynamic and also probably family as a
Hmm.
whole, you
Hmm.
know. So hopefully they get some professional help.
Yes.
Next question. My girlfriend and I are having relationship issues, strongly caused by lack of sexual and physical intimacy. What would you say if you had a couple that comes in with the situation, like the lack of physical and sexual intimacy? How would you help them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I mean, I would want to know their age, right? And where
Mm-hmm.
are they at in life, and
Mm-hmm.
how long have they been together? What's going on in the relationship, if it's a long-term relationship, if it's a new relationship, right? With it, like, by new I mean like 1 year, 2 years,
Or long
um
distance?
or long distance, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how did you start the relationship? How was how was sex and intimacy prior to having issues,
Mm-hmm.
right? How was
Mm-hmm.
that? Sometimes, like I said, people are able to have a great connection at the beginning, and then something changes. And so we would have to find out, are there patterns, right, of how I relate to intimacy with others? Or also the emotional connection, right? Sometimes it's off. Sometimes the emotional connection is not there, and that can impact the
Mm-hmm.
intimacy and the physical intimacy. And sometimes, like with the email that we started at the beginning, sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes there
Mm-hmm.
is a friendship, but the erotic dynamic is missing. And so I would want to know, how was that dynamic before, and then what's been getting in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, yeah, like I said, like routines. Sometimes just maybe people start being, let me start. Sometimes people don't really share what they're into at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, and then they keep that to later, right? And
Yeah.
not that you have to disclose all parts of yourself at the beginning, but if you are pretending to like something that you are not really into, it's gonna catch up,
Yes.
right, with
Mm-hmm.
time, and so it's gonna come up, and then that's going to affect, intimacy. And so it's important that you recognize and that you know, what you like, what you want, and what are your, you know, like, just recognize, like, okay, I'm doing this because I love and I enjoy giving pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
or and I'm doing it full of joy, right? Versus at my expense, or sort of like not really
Yeah.
wanting to do it because it's going to catch up, and then maybe it's going to shut down
Yeah.
your your desire, your physical intimacy.
And now they talk here also about feeling, disconnected in the relationship. And I would also wonder, like, well, did something happen? Like, somebody could be sick? Maybe they have an illness. Maybe they have an elderly parent.
Yeah.
Maybe they were, in between jobs or switching careers. Like, what else is happening? That's maybe causing that disconnect, right?
Yes. Sometimes it's things outside, even
Yes,
outside
of the relationship.
not necessarily in the relationship, but yeah, you have, if you have aging parents or ill parents, and you have to be a caregiver to them, and you have to work 40 hours a week, and you have children. Of course, all of that is going to impact, how you feel and your energy and your
Yes.
stress and your life and your work balance. It's going to be all off, and of course that it's not. It's going to be like a barrier
Yes.
to you feeling free and full of creativity
Yeah.
and wanting to play
Yeah.
and having that energy.
Yeah, and so many things in your life can affect the relationship dynamic, especially if we're not communicating.
Yes.
So, communication is key.
Yes.
Next question. Hello, I'm struggling to communicate with my husband about our sex life or lack thereof. I need help.
And sometimes, Martha, we don't realize like intimacy, sex also requires communication, like verbal communication. And sometimes, like I said in a little bit ago, sometimes the communication becomes negative. So every time something goes wrong, we talk about it, right? And I'm associating these conversations with shame or with criticism or with just feeling down about or not good enough. And so it would be important to develop communication that is also positive. It's important to know what we want. It's important to know what we need. It's important to also know how to deliver, right? At the end of the whole purpose of communicating, it would be to get the best possible outcome, right? To be effective. That's the word I was looking for. To be effective in how we are giving the information. And or if it's coaching, right? Be giving people feedback, letting them know what works or what doesn't work. And so it would be important to just recognize it. If it's hard, write it down. Just write down what you want to say, write down your needs, write down your wants, write down your desires, and then practice just saying them out loud to yourself. I like, I want, I wish, I hope, my dream is to, right, complete that sentence. And practice just saying it so that you can get more confident, and you can start validating yourself, right? You start first with honoring. We have to start with honoring what we want and what we desire or what we wish to have. And we have to give our partner a chance to do something about it, right? By communicating, not assuming, because sometimes, and I think I've heard it more from women, like, he should know what to do. He's a man. He should know what to do. Yeah, he's a man. He doesn't have the body of a woman, right?
But you know what I've learned now as I'm getting older and, I've been doing this for a long time? Common sense is not so common. It's like what you might think they should know or this person should know this. Sometimes people truly, genuinely don't.
Yeah, they have no idea.
And it's not personal.
Yeah.
They really don't know.
Yes.
And it's not personal, and it's hard not to take that personal.
And,
but,
yes, so that would be important, not to take it personal,
yes.
right? When you're getting feedback too, because sometimes people do give feedback and people take it personal.
Yes.
And so it would be important to just learn how to take feedback or learn how to give the feedback too. And sometimes if you try and you say like, well, I've tried and I try, then it's time to get someone else to help you have that conversation. It's important to, talk to a professional so you can develop or you can create safety, right? You can create a vulnerability to be able to have those conversations and be able to have, the moment to connect And it does sometimes, couples after having good communication and being able to connect with each other, then it like sparks desire for the couple.
Yes. Well, that was our last question, Luisa.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me.
Happy to help.
Yes, and we'll do another Q&A sometime soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Please make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and share.